There are two main ones that come to mind, and actually UserGems kind of coalesces with the first one. So we'll talk about the first one, then we'll talk about how UserGems helps that out. I've gone on and on about how part of a successful seller environment is this culture of coaching. And you hear people talk about this all the time, culture of coaching. And I think there's a good way and a bad way to go about it. Let's start with the bad way. This typically comes down to people, people get off a call and some manager's like, well, you could have done this, and this differently. A couple problems with this method. Firstly, you can nitpick anything, right? Giving someone a list of 10 nitpicks doesn't benefit anybody because there's a ton to focus on and none of it is particularly high value. And secondly, the communication is entirely one way. There's no two-way feedback, and as such, there's no way to close the communication loop. It's like if you're growing up and your mom tells you 10 times a day to clean your room, what are you going to do? You're not going to clean your room. So the best way to coach is going to allow reps to seek out self-improvement. Generally across a team, there are trends. For example, if I see across Gong that the ADR team seems to be struggling with the opening of their cold calls, that's the theme we should work on for a given time period. But rather than have the SDR manager leave commentary on all their cold call openers, let's have the reps go in and leave their own commentary and feedback on their own openers. How would you improve upon this? What is it about this situation that you would do differently if given the opportunity? I think that great coaching is about helping people ask themselves the right question to create pathways of consistent improvement rather than throwing the right answers at them and demanding they follow it, right? So by crunching data and coaching toward team-wide trends, we can tangibly improve upon an important aspect and track that improvement over time. So part one of this is giving reps control over their own destiny as far as coaching and development and helping them drive introspection rather than helping them drive obedience. On the other end, we want to give reps as many easy at-bats as possible. So when I'm thinking about ramping reps, and this is on the new business sales end, I think a lot about like time to first activity, time to first close, time to quota, how times between stages shift over time. One of the best parts about working at UserGems, and this is not something that I had seen previously in enablement, is that when reps graduate from general onboarding, they're hopping on the phones and they're immediately getting Bluebird deals early. When I say Bluebird, it's because it's literally people reaching out saying, hey, I used this before. I'm at this company now. Can I buy this? Especially if you get a buyer like me. I'll hit up people that I work with before. I'll be like, I'm not even looking at anything else. Send me the order form right now. Right? So
it's a natural human thing. Like we do that for everything we buy, to be honest.
100%. And it's not just tech, right? Like think about your favorite brands. Think about a great example of this are like, I think cell phones, right? If you ask 90% of people in the United States what type of phone they have, it's probably an iPhone. And what happens next time a new iPhone comes out and theirs is old? You think they think about buying an Android? No. I mean, I do because I think the phones look cool. But like a lot of times, if you buy a new phone, it's a fundamental change in your entire ecosystem, right? So people have tech stack ecosystems that they like and they're used to. So they're going to try to rebuild it as quickly as possible. So you get these Bluebird accounts. This is building confidence really quickly for reps, and it's also lowering time to first close. And now from there, via that internal coaching cadence that I just talked about, we can coach on competencies across a bunch of different areas of the sales process with real-time examples now pretty early on. Like generally speaking, if a rep starts, they're probably not going to get to like late mid-funnel or closing a deal until 60 days in, which means you don't have an example from them to coach on. If they're getting Bluebirds out the gates and you're seeing 10-day closes, now we have mid to late funnel execution to coach on within a few weeks. So this is reducing the time between stages on average because that repeat business deal velocity is so fast and full scope deal reviews are very quickly available to reps. So eventually this compounds over time and ramping reps have a much easier path to quota. And so we've talked a lot about how coaching drives a successful selling environment, but ultimately it all comes back to one simple concept. You want reps to gain confidence quickly, make closing deals as easy as possible. Like it's so simple that it actually is annoying. It's like, I hate the fact that I'm boiling this all down to make it easier for them to close, but it takes a lot of work and steps in the process to do.
I'll walk you through what I implement whenever I take over a new organization or join a new organization. It's going to sound familiar because I start with, do we know our buyer? Like, bring to me a list of who we're selling to, and then tell me what you think they care about and how you think we help them. What I usually find is people are extremely surface level. They only know like the high level marketing overview, basically what you would see on a website, and it's just too generic. And so playbook number one is go help my people better understand our personas to the point where we can be emotionally relevant. We know them well enough to know what they don't want to have happen, what they dream of happening, so we can help them go avoid that nightmare or attain their dream state. Then I layer on top of that effective messaging. I'm all about effective writing, effective communication, because if I really understand my buyer, but I still word vomit terrible cold emails, or I can't make a succinct cold call to express a value proposition, none of it matters. So I set the foundation of buyer persona mastery. I move to effective messaging. And then over the top of this, I layer on my good day framework. My requirement for my organization is that every rep is held to a good day. We define with them what a good day looks like. We track their implementation of that, and we hold them accountable to daily progress against those metrics. So now I've got an organization that understands who we sell to. They can effectively message to that persona, and they're highly productive on the daily basis for prospecting. That creates a pipeline generation engine that I can then go layer on top of and begin working on discovery, solution presentation, end of deal navigation. But those are the first things I will always roll out with any new team, any new organization, because without the foundation of good pipeline generation to the right contacts, I can't run an effective sales process.
Just from a selfish point of view, are there any UserGems playbooks that you use currently to build this kind of environment?
Yeah, so we are trying, because at Mongo, I run an acquisition org. And so we don't have any customer accounts. My entire territory are net new. What we do try to find, though, is users that have come from other organizations that have used MongoDB. And then we're always trying to figure out ways later in the sales process to multi-thread effectively and try to find advocates. What's unique about Mongo is we have millions of users of our community platform, which is free. And so anybody can use Mongo, and it doesn't cost anything. And so what becomes challenging for us is to go find the people that use Mongo for free and will never pay for it, and then to find people that use Mongo for free now that might pay for it if they understood what the paid version could do. And so running plays like identifying former users of paid, former users of our free offering that have moved to a bigger company is a big part of our PG strategy.
How does this layer into the first three parts of where you talked about the buyer person understanding, effective messaging, and then just what a good day looks like? Is there any way they both relate? Because I really like how you broke those three. I'm just wondering how these playbooks support that piece. Does it ever connect at any point?
Account planning, and I probably should even lead with that, because before I can make sure we're targeting the right contacts, I need to make sure we're targeting the right accounts. And the right accounts are going to often be identified by the use case that we're tied to, the industry that they're within, a potential budget they might have for a solution as measured by how many developers they have. And so identifying places that have a large number of former users of Mongo or people that have come from organizations that use Mongo is one of the ways that I'll look at an account to determine if it's worth us going after.